Hey crew, it's Pitt and I'm back with some more Esoterica. Today we are diving back into the works of Mr. Charles Haanel. This is the Master Key System. We are on part 5. We are reading along and discussing as we go along the various topics that are brought to light by the text. It's not the format for everybody, but some people seem to find enjoyment in it, so you are more than welcome to tag along as we continue our exploration. Before we begin, however, if you are unfamiliar with me, any of my unconventional beliefs, or if at any point in time I lose you in the terminology, there will be several playlists linked in the corner above, the box down below, along with the original source material, so that you can get a better understanding of who I am and why I stand where I do and say the things that I say. Of particular note today is almost certainly going to be the Infinite Integrations playlist, where I talk about how to do the things they are discussing in much greater detail and much more effectively. With that being said, let us dive in and continue our exploration of the Master Key System. Part 5. This part tells how the subconscious processes are continually at work, and it tells how we may consciously direct this work instead of being mere passive recipients of its activity. It tells how we may have a vision of the destination to be reached, the dangers and pitfalls to be avoided. It tells how the Word has become flesh, how we are constantly creating and recreating ourselves. It tells of a mental home which each of us is building for ourselves. The importance of this home, where the material is secured, the character of the furniture, how and why many of us need a mental house cleaning in case we wish to realize our ideas. It tells of the conditions by which we may come into an inheritance of health, harmony, and prosperity. And the condition is one which demands no sacrifice except the loss of our limitations, our servitudes, and our weaknesses, and costs only the labor of harvesting its great resources. Introduction, Part 5. After studying this part carefully, you will see that every conceivable force or object or fact is the result of mind in action. Mind in action is thought, and thought is creative. Men are thinking now as they have never thought before. Therefore, this is a creative age, and the world is awarding its richest prizes to the thinkers. And again, bear in mind the time period in which we're talking about, right? This is between the First and the Second World War. This is just after the scientific revolution really grasped and took hold. We were beginning to really dive into petrochemicals. We were really starting to get the big industry that would be the detriment to all mankind called pharmacia, and getting away from our more organic roots. It's not necessarily the best idea that we've ever had, but it was a new idea, so people explored it with great vigor and enthusiasm. But it is important to bear in mind that yes, it was indeed men thinking as they had never thought before. Matter is powerless, passive, inert. Mind is force, energy, power. Mind shapes and controls matter. And if you missed the last couple of segments of this, the mind, in his terminology, is the soul in mind, right? The soul is the part that makes the decisions. It is the mind. Every form which matter takes is but the expression of some pre-existing thought. But thought works no magical transformations. It obeys natural laws, the 8 laws of creation. It sets in motion natural forces. It releases natural energies. It manifests in your conduct and actions. And these, in turn, react upon your friends and acquaintances, and eventually upon the whole of your environment. You can originate thought, and since thoughts are creative, you can create for yourself the things you desire. That is mostly true. Part 5. At least 90% of our mental life is subconscious, so that those who fail to make use of this mental power live within very narrow limits. The subconscious can, and again, that is him pulling a number out of his butt, right? That is not quantifiable. The subconscious can and will solve any problem for us if we know how to direct it. The subconscious processes are always at work. That is true. The only question is, are we to be simply passive recipients of this activity, or are we to consciously direct the work? Shall we have a vision of the destination to be reached, the dangers to be avoided, or shall we simply drift? You should be consciously directing the flow of your life. That is something that you should be striving to do. That is what we talk about all of the time with prayer, fasting, and meditation, with exercising your body, with making sure that you are aligned with things that are productive in your life. Doesn't mean that you have to work yourself to death. Recreation is part of life, and you should be taking recreation. You should be taking free time. You should be enjoying yourself. But you should be consciously directing where you're going. You shouldn't just be free-flowing through life. That is not wise. We have found that mind pervades every part of the physical body and is always capable of being directed or impressed by authority coming from the objective or the more dominant portion of the mind. The mind, which pervades the body, is largely the result of heredity, which in turn is simply the result of all the environments of all past generations on the responsive and ever-moving life forces. An understanding of this fact will enable us to use our authority when we find some undesirable trait of character manifesting. And this is something important to keep in mind too. The mind, how your mind reacts, is indeed largely the result of heredity, up until you take active control of it. When you are actively pursuing knowledge, when you are actively pursuing a greater understanding of things, you are taking control of the direction that your mind is going. But until you do that, it is going to largely coincide with what your parents have taught you, what your grandparents have taught you, the community at large around you. It is hard to buck that system. It is hard to break those patterns, but that is literally one of the reasons why you are here. There are repeated patterns in almost every single family that should be broken. Not all of them. There are really good traditions that we hold, but many of them. Many people hold beliefs that they have no foundational understanding of. They haven't actually done the work to understand why they stand where they stand. I recommend to you all the time. I don't tell you where you should stand, right? In large part. Sometimes I do, but for the most part I don't. That is because you need to decide that. That is part of your journey. You need to discover where you should stand, where your morals lie, as a part to the ethics of the tribe. You should stand for what you want to see as opposed to what you don't want to see. You should focus your life in a positive manner as opposed to a negative manner, but that is entirely up to you. Breaking from heredity, from what your parents taught you, is a difficult process. It is not easy to stand alone from the crowd. I can attest to that. But it is fulfilling. It is much better to understand where you come from, even if you're diametrically opposed to me, right? I don't believe in the unaliving of children prior to birth. It's one of the fundamental things that I just don't believe in. And I used to be like, I'm not interested in it, and my people are not going to take part of that. And now I'm more of an active anti on that matter because, life is life, and if you're killing life, that is something wrong with you. That doesn't mean that it is a fundamental thing. It is probably a result of your heredity or the community around you. You need to learn to buck that tradition. That is one of the few that I am pretty firm on, right? Like, morality is subjective. It has been subjective throughout the entirety of history. And so where you stand is important to you. Understand the underlying mechanics of it, though. Understand exactly why you stand there. Make sure it is not just because your daddy said so, or your mama said so, or your pawpaw said so, or whoever. Make sure you understand why you stand where you stand, because there is nobody else going to be responsible at the end except for you. We can consciously use all the desirable characteristics with which we have been provided, and we can repress and refuse to allow the undesirable ones to manifest. That is true. Now, only once you take conscious direction in your life, though, right? Then once you are aware that there is a choice to be made, then you are responsible for the choice. When we talk about levels of responsibility, that is why. Again, this mind, which pervades our physical body, is not only the result of hereditary tendencies, but is the result of home, business, and social environment, where countless thousands of impressions, ideas, prejudices, and similar thoughts have been received. Much of this has been received from others, the result of opinions, suggestions, or statements. Much of it is the result of our own thinking, but nearly all of it has been accepted with little or no examination or consideration. And that is emphasizing what I just said. Right? Make sure that you examine and consider before you make your stance. The idea seemed plausible. The conscious received it, passed it on to the subconscious, where it was taken up by the sympathetic system and passed on to be built into our physical body. The Word has become flesh. This, then, is the way we are constantly creating and recreating ourselves. We are, today, the result of our past thinking, and we shall be what we are thinking today. The law of attraction is bringing to us not the things we should like or the things we wish for or the things someone else has, but it brings us our own, the things which we have created by our thought processes, whether consciously or unconsciously. Unfortunately, many of us are creating these things unconsciously. And this is true, right? The law of attraction, which is one of the 8 laws of creation, says that like attracts like. Things of a similar nature tend to cluster. And so if you are focusing on the negative, allowing the negative to dominate your life, then you will pull in the negative. If every day you're going saying this is going to be a terrible day, it will. If you wake up cussing on a Monday because it's a Monday, then it's going to be a horrible Monday. But if you embrace today as the challenge and the opportunity that it is, then you can find the positive in it. And if you can find the positive in it, you will be bringing positive into your life. That is the law of attraction, summed up. It is the fundamental part of it. Now, there are 8 other laws that govern manifestation, or 7 other laws, including the one. Make sure you understand the 8 laws of creation, because that is the fundamental mechanics by which karma and manifestation work. If either of us were building a home for ourselves, how careful would we be in regard to the plans? How we should study every detail, how we should watch the material and select only the best of everything, and yet how careless we are when it comes to building our mental home, which is infinitely more important than any physical home, as everything which can possibly enter into our lives depends upon the character of the material which enters into the construction of our mental home. And again, build your home with intentionality. Make sure that you understand what every single plank in your particular home is. Make sure that you understand where you stand on this issue and why. Where you stand on this issue and why. Build it like a wall. Go through every time that there is a decision. Make sure that you are fully considering both sides. Make sure that you understand the arguments on both sides. Make sure that you strongman the argument that you are opposed to understand whether that is actually the better argument. I try to do that every single time. I may not succeed every single time, but I do strive for that. That is something that you should be striving for too. And that's not me telling you what to decide. It's more of a telling you how to decide, right? Make sure that you understand all of the underpinnings. All right, if you're using a 2-penny nail in a 10-penny spot, it's not going to hold. What is the character of this material? We have seen that it is the result of the impressions which have accumulated in the past and stored away in our subconscious mentality. If these impressions have been of fear, of worry, of care, of anxiety, if they have been despondent, negative, doubtful, then the texture of the material which we are weaving today will be of the same negative material. Instead of being of any value, it will be mildewed and rotten, and will bring us only more toil and care and anxiety. We shall be forever busy trying to patch it up and make it appear at least genteel. And again, this is choose with intentionality. Make sure that you are focusing on the positive instead of the negative. Don't be despondent. Be hopeful. Don't be doubtful. Be confident. Make sure that you understand the underlying and then stand on it, right? No matter what, if you are opposed to this issue, it doesn't matter if every single person in the entirety of the entire planet is opposed to you. If you are right, stand on right. The group does not necessarily have wisdom. But if we have stored away nothing but courageous thought, if we have been optimistic, positive, and have immediately thrown any kind of negative thought on the scrap heap, have refused to have anything to do with it, have refused to associate with it or become identified with it in any way, what then is the result? Our mental material is now of the best kind. We can weave any kind of material we want. We can use any color we wish. We know that the texture is firm, that the material is solid, that it will not fade, and we have no fear, no anxiety concerning the future. There is nothing to cover. There are no patches to hide. These are psychological facts. There is no theory or guesswork about these thinking processes. There is nothing secret about them. In fact, they are so plain that everyone can understand them. The thing to do is to have a mental house cleaning, and to have this house cleaning every day, and keep the house clean. Mental, moral, and physical cleanliness are absolutely indispensable if we are to make progress of any kind. And that is true, right? You should be making sure that your thoughts are aligned correctly. Make sure that you understand your morals as opposed to the tribe's ethics, and to work towards physical fitness and cleanliness, right? That is two parts of the same thing. It is almost impossible to remain hygienic if you are sloppy body, right? I have been sloppy body. I have been almost 300 pounds and fully intoxicated most of the day on every single day. So when I talk about that, I am not just talking about people. I am talking about me. It is important to be physically fit and clean. You may not understand that if you are living in depression, or if you are doing the things which are intrinsically negative in your own life. It is part of that is that you haven't recognized yet. Learn to recognize it. If it has been more than 2 days since you've taken a shower, do so. Wash your hair, brush it, brush your teeth. Make sure that you are exercising regularly. Do the things that you know are necessary to maintain your temple in the prime optimum condition. I'm not telling you that you have to overexert yourself or to overwork yourself, but you should be fully engaged, both mentally, morally, and physically, every single day. And you should be making that choice every single day. Doesn't mean that you won't have off days, doesn't mean that it won't be hard, but you should be striving to make that choice every single day. When this mental house cleaning process has been completed, the material which is left will be suitable for the making of kinds or ideals of mental images which we desire to realize. And that is true. There is a fine estate awaiting a claimant. Its broad acres with abundant crops, running water, and fine timber stretch away as far as the eye can see. There is a mansion, spacious and cheerful, with rare pictures, a well-stocked library, rich hangings, and every comfort and luxury. All the heir has to do is assert his heirship, take possession, and use the property. He must use it. He must not let it decay, for use is the condition on which he holds it. To neglect it is to lose possession. That is true. In the domain of mind and spirit, in the domain of practical power, such an estate is yours. You are the heir. You can assert your heirship and possess and use this rich inheritance. Power over circumstances is one of its fruit. Health, harmony, and prosperity are assets upon its balance sheet. It offers you poise and peace. It costs you only the labor of studying and harvesting its great resources. It demands no sacrifice except the loss of your limitations, your servitudes, your weakness. It clothes you with self-honor and puts a scepter in your hand. Now this, if you want to learn more about the scepter in your hands, you should check out the tarot videos that I did. But yeah, this is, again, a reiteration of the same thing we've been doing. I don't need to stop and talk about every single point, right? You gain this estate. To gain this estate, 3 processes are necessary. You must earnestly desire it. You must assert your claim, and you must take possession. You admit that those are not burdensome conditions, right? There are some people who say they want things, but they absolutely refuse to take any action towards gaining them. I don't have time for that, right? I'm an extremely hard person to be around. You may see me here and think I am friendly, and I am. But I expect the absolute best out of myself. I beat myself up because I do not attain that. And that is something I am working on because perfection is not attainable, right? But I want to be the absolute best me that I can be. And part of that is I want to surround myself with people who want the same thing. And if you don't align with wanting the best for yourself, it doesn't have to be you assisting me in things. I want you to be the best you, whatever that may happen to be. And I am willing to take whatever steps is necessary to help you achieve that. But you have to be willing to put in the work too. You have to be willing to put in the time, the effort, to find the research, do the things, and actually follow through on them. And because of that fact right there, I'm hard to be around because I'm going to call you out when you're not. I'm going to say things that are going to make you feel uncomfortable when you are not being the best you. I expect you to do the same for me. And if you don't do that for me, then we're not going to associate. And if you can't take me doing that for you, we're not going to associate. I want every single person on the entire planet to achieve their dreams. I believe that that is possible. We don't live in a world of lack. Abundance is everywhere. One oak tree produces enough seeds that you can have many trees, right? There is an abundance in nature that is well, I don't even know what the word would be. It's hard to even conceive, right? If you open up a zucchini, there are so many seeds in there that you can feed your entire family for however long just off of those seeds inside of one zucchini or one pumpkin or one whatever. Nature is abundant. You have to claim that. The way that you claim that is through the discipline, right? It is through deciding that you want it. You must earnestly desire it. It has to be the overriding feature inside of you. You must assert your claim. You have to say, I want this. Speak it aloud. Write it down. Those are important steps. And you must take possession. Taking possession is taking the actual steps to accomplish it. It is okay to just sit around, oh, I'm going to do this one day. I'm going to do this one day. But if you are not taking the action, you will never get it. You will not manifest anything simply waiting around for it to show up. You have to invest the energy. It is one of the 8 laws of creation. Make sure that you are doing that for what you want, right? I'm not talking about something that I want for you to invest your energy in. Invest your energy in what you want in your life, not in what you don't want, but in what you do want. Take the time to invest in yourself. It is important. You're familiar with the subject of heredity. Darwin, Huxley, Haeckel, and other physical sciences have piled evidence mountain high that heredity is a law attending progressive creation. It is progressive heredity which gives man his erect attitude, his power of motion, the organs of digestion, blood circulation, nerve force, muscular force, bone structure, and a host of other faculties on the physical side. There are even more impressive facts concerning heredity of mind force. All these constitute what may be called your human heredity. All right, now here's one of the places where I disagree greatly with science. I don't believe in macroevolution. I do not believe that we all evolved from the same single cell organism. It is beyond comprehension to even believe that that is a possibility. I believe in microevolution, however. I believe in a created universe. I believe that we are here intentionally and that we were created as we are. But we have developed within the species. There are variations within the species. That is true for the animal kingdom, that is true for the plant kingdom, and that is true for us. I don't believe that we came from monkeys. I don't believe that we came from fish. I believe that we were created. You don't have to believe that. I am not here to convince you of that. But I take contention with this. I believe that humans were created differently. It is part of the reason why we are here. We have different lessons to learn than these dogs do. We have different lessons to learn than the angels do. We have lessons, and all of them have lessons, and each of those lessons are tailored to us. We are here specifically for that. we are here as a tiny little sliver of divinity in order to learn those lessons. And that is my theory. I differ greatly with science. And so when he says that the organs of digestion, blood circulation, and nerve force, right, I don't attribute that to evolution. I attribute that to the creation. The variations within the species, that I credit to evolution, right? If it wasn't for evolution, we wouldn't be having this conversation. We wouldn't have electricity. We wouldn't have cameras and microphones and all of the internet and things that we need for this to be facilitated. That is part of microevolution, the advancement of the species through natural selection. I don't believe in the deviation between species, right? And I know that's too much for some people, but you should look at the giraffe for one very good reason why that is so. But there is a heredity which the physical science have not compassed. It lies beneath and antecedent to all their researches, at a point where they throw up their hands in despair, saying they cannot account for what they see. This divine heredity is found in full sway. It is the benignant force which decrees primal creation. It thrills down from the divine direct into every created being. It originates life, which the physical sciences have not done, nor ever can do. It stands out among all forces supreme, unapproachable. No human heredity measures up to it. And this is what I was just talking about, right? I do believe in the differentiation between that. Now, science is attempting to imitate life or imitate the creation of life. IVF is one of the steps they take, but that is a biological process, even though it is external of the natural. But the AI that we're seeing start to run rampant is an attempt by them to do that as well. They are attempting to create life, as in human life, without sperm. That is one of the things that they are attempting to do. And I find that absolutely horrid. I think that is a detestable thing. Now, IVF's a little tricky, right? I'm not a big fan of that. I believe that if you were meant to have children, then you would have children. And I know that is a hard pill for some people to take. It's easy for me to say I had kids. But in the same way that I believe people are born gay, and that is God shutting off this particular line of genetics, I believe that IVF is attempting to push past that shutting off of the line of genetics, and maybe it shouldn't happen. And again, that is really easy to say when I already have kids. It's not something that I'm going to be intimately involved in, much like abortion, right? Me nor my family are going to participate in it, so it doesn't really affect us. The same is true with IVF. I won't participate in it, but I'm not going to condemn you for doing so. I will condemn you for the other one, though, right? Abortion, I will condemn you for that. And that is not like me as a divine being condemning you. That is me as a finite person saying, I think that is really, really bad. Like, that is karmic repercussions type of bad. This infinite life flows through you, is you. Its doorways are but faculties which compromise your consciousness. To keep open these doors is the secret of power. Is it not worthwhile to make the effort? The great fact is that the source of all life and all power is from within. Persons, circumstances, and events may suggest need and opportunities, but the insight, strength, and power to answer these needs will be found within. Avoid counterfeits. Build firm foundations for your consciousness upon forces which flow direct from the infinite source, the universal mind, which you are the image and likeness. That would be God. Those who have come into possession of this inheritance are never quite the same again. They have come into possession of a sense of power hitherto undreamed of. They can never again be timid, weak, vacillating, or fearful. They are indissolubly connected with omnipotence. Something in them has been aroused. They have suddenly discovered that they possess a tremendous latent ability of which they were heretofore entirely unconscious. This power is from within, but we cannot receive it unless we give it. Use is the condition upon which we hold this inheritance. We are, each of us, but the channel through which the omnipotent power is being differentiated into form. Unless we give out, the channel is obstructed, and we can receive no more. This is true on every plane of existence and in every field of endeavor, in all walks of life. The more we give, the more we get. The athlete who wishes to get strong must make use of the strength he has, and the more he gives, the more he will get. The financier who wishes to make more money must make use of the money he has, for only by using it can he get more. That is mostly true. Right? You can gain interest by leaving it in a savings account, but that is not an effective means of gaining more money. The merchant who does not keep his goods going out will soon have none coming in. The business which fails to give efficient service will soon lack customers. The barrister who fails to get results will soon lack clients. And so it goes everywhere. Power is contingent upon a proper use of the power already in our possession. What is true in every field of endeavor, every experience in life, is true of the power from which every other power known among men is begotten. Spiritual power. Take away the spirit, and what is left? Nothing. That is true. If, then, the spirit is all there is, upon the recognition of this fact must depend the ability to demonstrate all power, whether physical, mental, or spiritual. Now, the spirit being all it is, we're going to hit it because it's a new video, right? There's the Trinity. You have the temple, the body, the thing you navigate 5D space with. You have the soul, the mind, the individualized slice of divinity that makes the decisions for the temple. And you have the spirit. The spirit is the all-consuming, all-pervading, omnipresent force that is God. He is me, he is you, he is the space between me and you, and the space between me and you. He is everything you can see and everything that you can't see. Everything. Every molecule of air, every atom in existence is spirit. You can take a small measure of control of that spirit to help shape your surroundings, your life, to call into your life the things that you want. You can create your life by manipulating that spirit. That is what we talk about. We've already hit it several times as we went through this particular study, but the Infinite Integrations playlist will give you more of that. All possession is the result of the accumulative attitude of mind, or the money consciousness. This is the magic wand which will enable you to receive the idea, and it will formulate plans for you to execute, and you will find as much pleasure in the execution as in the satisfaction of attainment and achievement. That is something that is not hit on often enough. You should be endeavoring. You should be gainfully employed. You should be toiling. You should be doing things to improve your situation. And those things should be enjoyable. You should not be toiling away at something drudge-like, right? If you don't enjoy your job, you should probably make plans to get another one. That does not mean quit your job today and go out and search another job. It means take the time to plan out what you would like to do with your life. Where would you like to be? What is your end goal? What do you want to gain in this life? What would make you happy? And then once you have that list, sit down and figure out what job will fill that, right? And then, what do I need to hold that job? What skills are requisite? How can I attain those skills? It is going to take extra effort on your part, and sometimes there will be drudgery involved. But once you have made the decision, hey, this is what I really want to do. Here are the steps that are needed to get there, and you invest your energy into making those steps happen, then you'll get a job that you actually enjoy. It may involve moving 1,000 miles away. It may be in the hometown you were raised in. It could be farming. It could be factory work. Some people actually like that. I know it sounds funny, but some people like just bitching about their work, even when they enjoy it. That is the truth. Some people just like being negative, and they tend to be surrounded by negativity. I wonder why that is. Take the time to invest in yourself. Take the time to understand what makes you happy. Happiness is a choice, right? It's not a disease. It doesn't just happen to you. You have to go out and actively attain it. You have to decide, I'm going to be happy about this situation regardless of what happens. And when you make the decision, it happens. It does. Spend the time. Invest in yourself. Understand what you want. And then put your energy into it. Invest as much energy as you possibly can into it. That can be hard, right? If you're working a 10-hour day and you come home and you have to study for 2 hours in order to get a better job, that's tough, right? It is hard to do, but it is possible, it is attainable, and if it's going to make you happy, it's worth taking that 2 extra hours a day for the next 2 years so that the next 40 are something that you actually enjoy. Now, go to your room, take the same seat, the same position as heretofore, and mentally select a place which has pleasant associations. Make a complete mental picture of it. See the buildings, the grounds, the trees, friends, associations, everything complete. At first, you will find yourself thinking of everything under the sun, except the ideal upon which you desire to concentrate. But do not let that discourage you. Persistence will win. But persistence requires that you practice these exercises every day without fail. Now here is where I make the meme. Right? I began this process with aphantasia. I say began because I am in the process of healing that. What aphantasia is that I cannot mentally picture anything. I can go into my room, take the seat, and mentally select a place, and then envision it. I can mentally select a place. I can set my goal. I can say, I want to achieve this, but I can't visualize it, right? Even now, as I am healing the aphantasia through the things that we talk about here, all I can do is change the colors, right? That is new to me. The only thing I have ever been able to do is clear the field, right? When I go to meditate, it looks like this. When I close my eyes, I see a screen like this. It is black and white, which fades into gray. This looks like it's gray. It's not. There are black and white spots all over this. That I can clear it so that it is a mostly coherent, equal field. That's what I use for manifestation for all of the beginning of this process. And it is only now that I can change this gray into red. For the first time in my life, I can change and intentionally create a color. Now I can take that color and I can make it rotate in the proper direction. And then I can go to yellow and I can make it rotate in the proper direction. And that is something brand new to me. That is something I have never done before, but yet I have done manifestation. I have healed myself through the power of God. Don't get it twisted. But I have done it. I have manipulated the Spirit. I have taken a small measure of control of the Holy Spirit, and within myself I have effected change. That is my throat, which you can track, and my shoulder, which you really can't. But that is two of the healings that I have done within myself, and that is an actual thing without being able to visualize it. So, while visualization is a handy tool, I am sure, it is not a necessary one. If you have the ability to do this, by all means do it. I am giving encouragement to those who can, because there are other people out there just like me who cannot see, right? I can't close my eyes and picture the house I want. I can't close my eyes and picture the land I want to own. I can't do that. It is not a possibility as of yet for me to do that. One day, I hope, I will be able to. I am focusing on that. I am trying to heal this vessel in every single way. And that is one of the ways that is manifesting. I am able to change the color now. Hopefully one day I will be able to see something. It would be absolutely wonderful to be able to see my grandmother's face again. That would be a wonderful thing for me. I miss my grandmother greatly. She died 15 years ago. I cannot picture her face. I can't close my eyes and picture my son who is away at college right now. I can't do it. That would be a wonderful blessing to me, and I hope to be able to heal that one day. But it is not going to stop you if you can't. You can still manifest even if you cannot visualize. Relation and connection are not everywhere. Relation and connection are not somewheres and sometime, but everywhere and always. Emerson. And we are up to the questions for part 5. What proportion of our mental life is subconscious? At least 90%. And again, that is just pulling a number out of your butt, right? That is speculating that is. There is no way to quantify that. There is no way that you could possibly quantify to a percentage. You can make an estimate, you can guess, but it is not at least 90%. That is. Is this mental storehouse generally utilized? No. Why not? Few understand or appreciate the fact that it is an activity which they may consciously direct. Where has the conscious mind received its governing tendencies? From heredity, which means that it is the result of all the environments of all past generations, except the ones that your parents chose to stop and that your grandparents chose to stop and the ones before that, right? My dad changed completely the family dynamic from what he grew up in. My pawpaw and my grandmother, his parents, did the same thing. It's true on the mother side of the family too. My mom completely changed the dynamics of the family from which she was raised. And my grandmother and pawpaw on that side did the same thing for theirs. There is dynamic change that happens in everything, right? So it's kind of the result of all environments, but not necessarily the steadfast, unchangeable results of all that, right? Just as much as you can change your environment and your heredity going forward, they have changed theirs going back or from back to their life. And so that's just something to keep in mind. You can change, right? Break those generational curses. You can do that, and sometimes your parents have tried that, right? I've said before, sometimes they can't make things great. Sometimes they can just make it less shitty than what they grew up in. That's just a fact. My mom tried to make my life less shitty than what hers was, and it didn't necessarily succeed, but that was her intention. It is the same with other people, so you can break the generational curses. What is the law of attraction bringing to us? Our own. What is our own? What we inherently are is the result of our past thinking, both conscious and subconscious. Of what is the material with which we construct our mental home composed? The thoughts we entertain. What is the secret of power? A recognition of the omnipresence of omnipotence. The Spirit is all. Where does it originate? All life and all power is from within. Kinda, but not really. Right? Like, you are the determining force and driving factor in your life. But the Holy Spirit pervades all life, and so some life and some power is from without. That is a truth. And so I disagree in part with this. I understand the intentionality behind it is to empower you to understand that you can change your life. But terminology is important to me, right? Semantics are important. Sometimes word choice makes all the difference. Upon what is the possession of power contingent? Upon a proper use of the power already in our possession. That is in large part true. If you are being a bad steward, not anything else is going to be entrusted to you. Once you have become a good steward, you will get good things coming to you, more and new. The key to every man is his thought. Sturdy and defying though he look, he has a helm which he obeys, which is the idea after which all of his facts are classified. He can only be reformed by showing him a new idea, which commands his own. Emerson. And that is going to wrap up part 5. I don't have a whole lot to add to this other than what we have already stated. So hopefully I brought a little bit of enlightenment and not too much confusion to a somewhat difficult topic. I understand that I hold some unconventional beliefs, and I have a tendency to step on toes when I relay those. It is not intentional, but I don't apologize for it. I am here to help discern, right? I have a better knowledge. I have done the things by which this man is talking, completely independent of him. I have enacted change in my life through the use of the Holy Spirit by taking a small measure of control of the all that is. God endowed me with that. He endowed you with that too. You can help create your life. It takes intentionality. You have to want to. You have to understand that you can. You have to invest your energy in it. You have to plan it. You have to decide. All of those things are true, but you can change your life. It is a possibility. You can affect miracles in your life. I have done it. I have healed myself in two very real ways. I have taken a cyst out of my throat through the use of the things which I am relaying. I have healed this shoulder to 100% for the first time in 20 years through the use of the Holy Spirit. It is something that has been given to me, but it is given to you too. You have to decide to do it. That is where you build that house. When you decide that you want the change in your life, when you decide that I am tired of being here in this position, I want a new one. Then you start creating the new one. And if you are not intentional about that, you will get something that you don't like. You may wind up in a worse position because you are not intentional about the change that you desire. If you are desiring change and you are stating, I want to change, and you are living a negative life, guess what you're about to get? If you like what I'm doing over here, let me know down below. Give me a like, share, and a sub. Throw me a comment if you agree or disagree. If it remains respectful, it gets to remain up. And if there is a work that you would like to see me discuss in the manner that we are doing here, let me know in the comments as well. It will go on the list. If you really like what I'm doing over here, hit me with that super thanks because, I don't manifest money. To the crew, thanks for hanging out. I appreciate every single minute that you are here with me, and I am praying for you every single day. Until next time, I love you. God loves you. You are perfect, whole, and complete, just the way that you are. And this has been Pitt's Take. Peace.